Hello, my beautiful blossoms, blooms, and buds, and welcome to another Holiday Fanfic Special. This one is Demon Bride Stealing series by Emriel. I really hope I'm saying your name right. Emriel. I'm so sorry if I'm not. But this is actually technically there are 3 fics in the series, but the first one was abandoned. So we're just going to read the last 2. So the first one is When I Grow Up, I'll Steal a Bride, just like my father once did. And the second one is called With All My Heart. So we're going to just go ahead and get into it. Thank you again so much, Emriel, for letting me read this. Like, I'm super excited about it. I really enjoy these, and they make me smile. They're pretty funny. But yeah, remember to go ahead and give the author some love. Oh my goodness, the fic link, actually the series link, is in the description to this video. So go ahead, check them out, give them some kudos, say hey, because they deserve it. They deserve it and more. But yes. When I grow up, I'll steal a bride just like my father once did, by Emriel. Summary. Luo Binghe grew up hearing all about his father's conquests, and his father's greatest achievement in his life was stealing away Su Xiyan. So, when Luo Binghe finds himself before a goddess about to be married to another god, he stole her away. So this was actually written for 9 Shadowcat 9. And this is also somewhat inspired by Natsume Yujinchu and Kyo Kara Mao, at least for those who know. I wasn't supposed to post another one so soon, but it was mostly done, so I just sat down to write the rest of it. See the end of the work for more notes. In the demon realm, on top of the barren cliffs of the southern realm, sat a resplendent palace that overlooked the entirety of the realm. It was high enough that it almost reached the clouds. The mountain the palace sat on hardly had any vegetation, and the mountain's dark rocks grew in every direction. It was a perilous thing to navigate by foot, so how was it that there was a palace built on the cliff? It looked like a highly precarious place to live in, and rather ominous. The veil on his face had still not been removed, and he was held against a very firm and warm chest of a demon who abducted him during a very important rite that he was filling in for someone he didn't even know. Su Xiyan really wanted to protest, but his protests were sealed by a silencing spell, and his wrists were tied behind his back. So really, he could only bemoan his fate as he was carried away by the scumbag of a demon into this dreadful-looking place. The Southern Realm's palace looked like a thing of the nightmares, and against the moon, Su Xiyan was wondering if he should have paid more attention to the stories that his brother, Shenju, used to tell him when he was much smaller. This will be your home now, my goddess. What? First of all, I'm not a goddess. And you scum, where the hell are you touching? Keep your hands away from my butt. I know you've sealed my cultivation somehow, but this is not a way to treat a man. You simply do not carry me this way. But of course, the masked demon assailant simply manhandled him into his arms, and from the mask he could see a pleased smile as they descended into the nefarious lair of this demon, who was far too strong to be a regular demon. And when the large steel gates decorated with skulls opened, Su Xiyan had officially fainted. 25 years ago, in a human town, there was a rather spoiled, saintly ruler roaming around with his trusted attendant. Tianlang Jun was looking around for the woman of his dreams and could still not find her, so he had instead started a very important secondary quest, which was to shop for things that suited his interest. Inside his spatial storage, there was an assortment of treasures that could only be found in the human realm. In his collection was 20 more books to add to his library. Some of them were scripts of plays, while others were tried and true guides on how to woo your beloved. He also purchased an assortment of trinkets, for the humans were a very superstitious bunch. There was a bunch of stuff that could ward evil spirits, demons like himself, and even attract luck. Some promised beauty, and this strange plant that was shaped like a bulb was to attract fortune. He kept buying all these knickknacks until suddenly his pouch was empty of silver. Oops. Tianlang Jun, the rightful ruler of the southern demon realm, stared at his coin pouch. Then his larger coin pouch, beloved nephew, looked exasperated at his pointed look. Tianlang Jun coughed and held out his hand in quiet expectation. Junsheng, this can't go on. You buy these things, and yet you do not use them. What is the point of going around and buying things that will end up as junk? Tianlang Jun paused and twirled a dark lock of his hair, said with a grave voice, My dear nephew, these are things that only exist during this time, and while I certainly do not know if the charms work, I do read the books I buy. Why? Have you not seen me reading the plays of the hero who lost his daughter to his enemy and swore to have revenge only for his own daughter to kill him? The tragedy, it breaks my heart. Zizi Lang wished Tianlang Jun would listen to him at least once, and fished out another pouch filled with silver, to which Tianlang Jun eagerly accepted with greedy hands. But before Tianlang Jun could go around spending it all, they finally found who they were both looking for. There, floating on the river, was a maiden with soft features, eyes with long lashes, and long, dark hair. Tianlang Jun tucked away the money and simply leapt out into the air and landed on the boat, where the woman's gentle face suddenly turned cold. You. Yes, me. Why are you so cross with me, my darling? Surely you feel the same as I do. I've missed you. I have not seen you for 2 days and kept returning to the place where we last met, where you promised to meet me again. And here I am, and here you are. Tianlang Jun bent with one knee and placed his hands on the woman's knee as if begging for an explanation. He really was simply reenacting a scene he had seen in a play. Stop that. It's embarrassing. And around them, those who were also sitting on their small boats and even the boatmen started laughing. Tianlang Jun had no sense of shame, but Su Xiyan was a lady of decorum. When the laughter ended and the others gossiped of what a lovely couple, Su Xiyan's own ears turned slightly red. Tianlang Jun allowed a roguish grin on his face and eventually sat opposite Su Xiyan and then carefully took a hold of her hand. What kept you, my love? I must tell you something. I will be married to a man, and that man isn't you. 5-year-old Luo Binghe gasped, and he gasped at his father and gasped at his mother. What happened next? Tell me! Tell me! Tianlang Jun, who was stroking his non-existent beard, said, Why, I did what all demons did when such an occurrence came to play. I stole the bride-to-be. During this time, your mother already had you. There was no way I would allow the scoundrel of a man, who was also your mother's shifu, to simply take advantage of her. But all Luo Binghe was psyched about was the fact that his father did the crowning glory of most demon lords. Bride kidnapping. He's read countless books about brides being stolen away from their grooms and then living happily ever after with their demon lords, who oftentimes manage to romance them and make them forget entirely of the life they left behind. The woman I have laid eyes on was simply going to be wed to another man. The old man in Huanhua did not know what was coming. Imagine. Legions of his disciples and the elders of his own sect, all of them wearing golden robes, and your mother, so beautiful in her red dress, standing before a lonely altar, thinking I have abandoned her to this sad fate. She had a procession and was almost about to bow to the gods when I appeared. Can you imagine? I alone with no army, not that I didn't have any, but just because I, your father, am the most powerful demon in existence in the demon realm, I came alone, and I fought them. Yes, yes, Baba, I know. You're amazing. You beat them all, didn't you? Yes, I did. It was certainly a massacre. I will spare you the details since you're too young for that, but certainly I beat them all and stole her away, and your mother was slapping me, screaming, and also rather happy at the same time. It was everything I could have asked for, so we kissed. Luo Binghe, who was sitting on the floor hugging a pillow, squeezed the pillow for dear life and blushed hotly, looking at Su Xiyan, who looked bored, then his father, who was now giving a very loving gaze to Su Xiyan. And of course, your mother forgave me for everything once I explained what happened. After having stolen her away, it was all the demon realm could talk about for years. He was giddy with excitement and kept nodding to the point that his mother sighed and muttered, "Men." So, the reason why I don't have your name, Baba? Luo Binghe looked confused now, and this was not because he wasn't being treated well. Sometimes he wondered if his father really was his father, or his mother really was his mother. He did not have either of their names. He was not named Tien, or had a long, unlike his cousin Zuzzy Long. Nor was he from the Su family, so his name made him feel like a nobody. Tianling Jun smirked. Why, it was not me who decided this. It was your own mother. She planned to raise you away from Huanhua after discreetly letting you be found by her allies in the Luo River. And when I found this plan, I was quite enraged, you see. But we never changed your name in courtesy of the generous washerwoman who raised you for a year after. After I and your mother raised hell in the human realm. When it was all peaceful once more, we took you back and raised you here in the southern realm. Su Xiyan carefully gestured with her hands, and Luo Binghe clambered up his mother's lap as he was hugged and reassured. You are certainly our child, do not doubt that, but stealing me away left repercussions in the cultivation world, and we had been at peace for so long. I'm sorry I could not think of a safer place to leave you, but I hope you understand it was better than risking you getting hurt in the crossfire. Luo Binghe had very vague memories of that one year where he was raised by a kind washerwoman, but it was in the past. He had the love of his parents now, and he was the heir to the throne of his father. He even had an older cousin to pester whenever he wished, and he had no shortage of toys and amusements. So he really was happy. Luo Binghe smiled contentedly and asked instead, when I grow up, I want to steal a bride just like what my father did. Look at what he's learnt from this, Su Xiyan said with inside. Bing Bing, you are too young to be thinking about stealing brides. Why don't you learn something far more important like sword fighting, righteous cultivation, and demonic cultivation? I will have scholars teach you the way of both worlds. I will not have your head be riddled with all your father's delusional ideas. Ah, Xian, my love, please don't be like that. The saintly ruler bemoaned and left his seat to simply hug both Su Xiyan and Luo Binghe, who was squished in between his parents. Even if you ask the elders, bride stealing is a tradition in the demon realm, something as old as time. It is in our blood to covet whatever we desire, even if it belongs to another. Su Xiyan harumphed. Still, it doesn't always end well. I know, I will stop. Tian Langjun acquiesce to simply keep Su Xiyan smiling. But inside Luo Binghe's mind, there was a growing idea of whoever his bride should be. He would have a bride that was as beautiful as his mother, with his father's humor, with his mother's intellect and sharp wit. His bride would be the most beautiful person that could ever exist in the entire world, and he would spoil his stolen bride the way his father spoiled his mother. The demon realm often relied on the protection of stronger demons, so he also understood why his mother was impatient for him to grow stronger. So he would not disappoint. Eventually, once he was old enough, his father would unlock the seal to his bloodline, but for now, he would diligently build up his foundation and aim to become the most powerful demon lord, far more powerful than his father was. The world was largely at peace. Humans and demons have learned how to coexist because the boundary that was known as the Endless Abyss simply eroded over time. Which was why, strange as it may be, Shen Yuan was often surrounded by his demon and human companions. His brother, Ju Ga, was certainly of high character and King Qian. He was the peak lord of Qingjing and directly oversaw the education, cultivation, and training of scholars, much like himself. But Shen Yuan realized that a transmigrated person like him could simply not tolerate being bossed around by his own brother. So, when his brother was conferred the title of peak lord and he was supposedly going to become an elder of Qingjing, he ran away for a world of adventures. By some strange luck, he was followed around by the Bison Peak Lord, who their Zhangman Shixian had entrusted him to, as if he were a child that needed watching. Certainly, it made the more difficult tasks of taming beasts easier whenever his Lu Shidi was around. The two of them had a harmonious relationship. Shen Yuan was the more agreeable version of Shenju that Lu Qingge preferred hanging out with. And because Shen Yuan had the propensity to be a little clumsy, Lu Qingge helped him navigate the strange world outside of Kangqian with his extreme indifference. But over the years, his company began to include the Anding Peak Lord, Shang Qinghua, and the lord he was serving, Mobi Jun. Mobi Jun and Lu Qingge were rather evenly matched, and when they fought, Shen Yuan tended to both. And since the lord of the Mobi clan often repaid his debts, he said that for saving his life, he would provide any assistance if need be. So that was how Shen Yuan was accepted into the demon realm as a friendly cultivator who tended to their beasts. In Kangqian, he learned not only how to become proficient in the scholarly arts of Qingjing, but he was also a pseudo-disciple of Kangqiao, because his older brother kept getting injured because of how often he fought with the other peak lords. He fought with his own peak, Lu Qingge, and really even others outside of the sect. Of course, Shenju outgrew that, or so Shen Yuan liked to think. He kept helping around, much to King Qian's consternation, and he became known as the friendliest traveling beast tamer, healer, cultivator who wielded a sword similar to Shu Ya, and had friends in rather high places, aka demon lords. But Shen Yuan was not really after connections. All he really wanted to do was simply complete writing his bestiary. The Compendium of Beasts sometimes involved many life-threatening encounters that often needed a quick escape, for which he received a regular supply from Mobi Jun himself, talismans that directly deposited himself and Lu Qingge to the Northern Realm Palace. Sometimes, if it was beast-related, he would take on missions, and this was how he got to know the local populace of the Demon Realm really well. Since he kept a very open mind and disdained using violence unless absolutely necessary, he grew endeared to the community. He got so famous that demons of all kinds, big or small, would approach him, asking for him to resolve his problems for free. And Shen Yuan was happy to do so in exchange for knowledge that he previously... More than a year had gone by, and he appeared with Shen Yuan in King Qian, with Shen Yuan instantly going to Shen Qingchu's side. Brother, I missed you. Liar, Shen Qingchu snarled. Last I heard, you were gallivanting in the abyss. You even published 3 books and never thought to show yourself. At least not to me. Shen Qingchu frowned and used the tip of his fan to check Shen Yuan's face. Shen Qingchu then glared at Luo Binghe, who was trying to be on his best behavior. And you beast! Have you come to bring my brother back? Is that what this is? Actually, Zhuge, I'm here to ask for your blessing. I've been married to Luo Binghe for almost 2 years now, so I can tell you that I've never been happier, Shen Yuan said very slowly. I will be the judge of that, Shen Qingchu said stiffly. So, you will give him a chance? Shen Yuan said hopefully. Shen Qingchu had no choice after all, since King Qian had been surrounded by demons after ruthlessly attacking the southern realm. The demons had finally had enough and held King Qian hostage for a very long time. Not that Shen Yuan was aware of it, of course. Luo Binghe immediately gestured to his demon generals to leave, and just like that, King Qian was free. In the Peak Lord meeting hall, a feast was prepared, and Qinghua cried into Shen Yuan's embrace. Ah, Cucumber Bro, I thought you died. You were gone for so long, and it was my fault. But my king told me not to worry. I'm so glad you're safe. Luo Binghe was glaring at Shen Qinghua, but the moment Shen Yuan looked behind him, Luo Binghe was all smiles. Perhaps the best thing was that despite what happened during the ceremony, the goddess of bounty granted Shen Yuan a gift, and now he had the ability to grow plants at his whim. It was a rather unconventional marriage, but being a stolen bride wasn't so bad. When his brother wasn't looking, he threaded his right hand with Binghe's and gave his husband a reassuring smile, and Luo Binghe squeezed back shyly. The sight of Luo Binghe's blushing cheeks made Shen Yuan smile. So that's the end of the first story of the series, and the author says, let me know what you think with a little face. So definitely let them know what you think. All right. I'm going to take a quick second to just heat up my tea real quick. I will be literally right back. And we are back. So, we are now going to move on to the second story in the, well, technically third story in the Demon Bride Stealing series by Emriel. Which I feel like I'm probably not saying that correctly, but you know what? I'm trying, and I hope they understand. Sorry. This one hair. There we go. All right. With All My Heart by Emriel. Summary. Mobe Jun, encouraged by his lord and Shen Yuan's relationship, decides to give in to his pesky advisors and elders and finds himself a wife. For 9 Shadowcat 9. This is set in the same universe as When I Grow Up, I'll Steal a Bride, just like my father once did. So you might want to read that after or before this for everything else to make sense. Also, I have no beta. Also, the results of my poll on Twitter is out. The next story I'll focus on updating or maybe finishing is King Qian's most favored pet. Thanks to all who participated. To be reborn in a world was a miracle in itself. Shang Qinghua should be thankful, but of all places he could be reincarnated in, it was proud immortal Demon Way. From the moment he opened his eyes, he could recall everything from the other world with perfect clarity. He was an adult, and turning back into a baby was one of the worst experiences he'd ever had. The moment he recognized his own name, he knew he was fucked. That is, until he realized that this world was not of his own making. Throwing rocks by the shore, Shang Qinghua escaped through the tranquil serenity of the sea. He could see from above his disciples were having a rare bout of freedom since their jobs in Andang literally worked them to the bone. They were lazily passing back and forth seashells, and those who got hit and didn't catch it properly had to retire back down to the floor. Bison Peak's disciples were helping the local community by culling off the local water dragons whose breeding time was always a danger to the coastal towns. Qian Kao oversaw the way they butchered bodies of dead dragons lined across the shore, and he had already pocketed the small fortune for protecting the land. Their blood dyed the shores red as the water fizzed. Shang Qinghua wisely stayed far away from the stench and the gloomy feelings of seeing one of his greater creations reduced to usable parts. As much as he loved all things that lived, he knew that for the most part, in proud immortal Demon Way, killing beautiful things was a way of life. There were several tents and a large ship that sat next to the cliff, which they would eventually ride back home. And his only job right now was to watch that. The waves would crash upon the ship's wooden body, and he recalled the time when he was younger. As a disciple, one of his first tasks was to chop trees and began imbibing the planks of wood with qi, reshaping it and turning it into useful things like their battleships. Squatting at the thought of home, he recalled the mess that was King Qian and how Shen Qingchu was being an ass now that his brother had been kidnapped and married off to Luo Binghe, of all people. He took another pebble and pouted. Shang Qinghua watched as it whooshed through the water, leaving a streak of white and waves splashing everywhere. At the very least, as a transmigrator, he gained immortality, and having climbed up the ranks, he supposed he lived a good life. Ever since he transmigrated, it was one of the things he was constantly working for, his continued survival. From across the waters, he saw a procession of white-haired demons and instantly froze. The northern demons rarely left their territory, but here they were, marching off into the sky in a procession complete with white flags. When Shang Qinghua had initially written about this cold bunch of people, he wrote them off as majestic. Every demon of their line was cold, elegant, and loyal to a fault. He knew they were coming too, since it was mentioned that the Mobi clan was going to meet with Lu Qingge for a transaction. The disciples all scrambled down from the sky and in an orderly fashion began lining up to meet the entourage. Shang Qinghua wanted to sigh in his heart. If he was going to be perfectly honest, he was not feeling flustered. Not at all. But who wouldn't be? He was Shang Qinghua, and for the greater part of his life, he was dreading the day when he would be slaughtered by Mobi Jun. Instead, things have turned out quite differently, living a double life. This would be the first time he was meeting them as a Peak Lord after all, and he dearly hoped, no one recognized him. The Mobi clan descended from the sky. They were a bunch of show-offs. From the sneers on their faces, it was obvious that they looked down on humans. Demons have far larger chi reserves than human cultivators could ever have, and Shang Qinghua wanted to wrinkle his robes, questioning himself why he wrote them that way. Good thing they weren't the type that reproduced, because really, humans wouldn't have stood a chance. Their leader was followed by similar white-haired and pale-skinned demons, and Sheng Qinghua began moving closer to the wooden platform by the shore, where a pavilion was hastily constructed, courtesy of his peak's effort. The Mobi clan remained standing, while the peak lords all began sitting. Mu Qingfan was calmly sipping tea, and Sheng Qinghua was pretending to be sipping his while not overtly staring. Mo Beijun had a very large wolf, and as he stood, he did not even look at the wolf and said, "Down." The wolf obeyed, and Sheng Qinghua gulped. The wolf then perked up and whined. Mo Beijun finally began petting it. Petting it. Slow, lazy strokes along the menacing wolf's head had Sheng Qinghua swallowing his tea until his cup was empty. The cold air came wafting along with it the saltiness of the sea and the metallic smell of blood. Sheng Qinghua wrinkled his nose. Mo Beijun simply cut to the chase. As you know, we are allied to the Prince of the Southern Realm, and we've come here to assist you with your task. We hope that you have not killed far more than necessary, an older demon said, which looked to be an advisor of Mo Beijun. Are you implying that our sect is greedy? Lu Chinga's voice carried over, and Mo Beijun seemed unfazed. Overhead, the clouds were swirling about, the afternoon sun shining rays of light across the sea. But around them, they felt the air getting colder. Mo Beijun's retinue, like most demons, was quick to anger. Not our words, the same elder spoke, stroking his beard. Then what is your purpose, your second purpose? Lu Chinga asked. Mo Beijun smirked. I have consulted with Lord Shen, and he said that I can take one of your own. I need someone suitable. Shameless! Lu Chinga stood up, and Sheng Qinghua's mind was spinning. The demons were being more proactive this time. This had its pros and cons. It was well known that Shen Yuan had been kidnapped by Luo Binghe, and Shen Yuan liked to foster human-demon relations. So he knew that the troublesome man probably recommended this to Mo Beijun to help them get better acquainted with Kangqian. If someone from Kangqian began to serve as a liaison between the Northern Realm, then Kangqian's position in the cultivation world would rise again. They not only had powerful allies in the Southern Realm with the heavenly demon Tianlang Jun and his son, but they would have the notoriously deadly bunch of Northern Realm demons as well. The only downside is, if a peak lord left their peak, then how can the work be divided again? As he kept pondering on this, Sheng Qinghua did not notice he had been staring at Mo Beijun openly. You. ... Sheng Qinghua blinked and realized that all attention was on him. You will come with me. Sheng Qinghua nervously stood up. 100 or so demons were looking him up and down, and murmuring started. From Kangqian, all the disciples and his fellow peak lords were silent. He sighed inside his heart and said, My king, this servant promises to serve you with all his heart. Mo Beijun looked surprised, but smiled. Then that concludes my visit. What is your name? Mo Beijun was still approaching him, and the wolf stood up as well, trailing behind Mo Beijun. Sheng Qinghua peered up at the superbly handsome man, and he got a whiff of winter pine and frost. He looked deep at the blue eyes and squeaked, Sheng Qinghua? Qinghua, it pleases this lord that you have made this excursion relatively easy. Come with me. Sheng Qinghua stood up and stammered, Now? My king? Mo Beijun frowned. You are to begin living in the Northern Kingdom in my palace. Sheng Qinghua stupidly nodded. Luo Qingge stood up and raised his sword, and Mu Qingfan stood up and nervously laughed, whispering in his ear, my king, I have things. I will help you move your things later. What about my peak? You can visit them after you've settled in. Then, then this one is in your care. Sheng Qinghua was conflicted. Wasn't this too sudden? He thought there would be a transition period. This was blatant kidnapping in broad daylight. What did he get himself into? We shall depart. The rest of the clan will stay to watch over the proceedings. Mo Beijun held out his arm, and Shang Qinghua, who still didn't understand what was happening, out of habit, nervously said, Yes, my king. He then bowed before Lu Qingga and Mu Qingfan and said, Please send Zhang and Shixian my regards, and that I will try to help run Anding Peak in whatever capacity I have in the meantime. In a daze, he began walking towards what could be his doom. He hoped he did a very good job, so Mo Beijun would find no fault in his service and not kill him in this life. His hand found the arm of the said demon, and before he knew it, they were teleporting. The next moment, Shang Qinghua opened his eyes. The world was spinning, and he collapsed against a cold body. It was a long time before he could find his bearings, because the sudden movement across space squeezed him all around, and the colors and images and sounds came in too fast that he just wanted to lie down and rest. Before he knew it, he was being carried. Humans are such fragile things. My king? Shang Qinghua opened his light brown eyes to gaze up at the face, which was currently looking annoyed. Eep! He was a peak lord who can cultivate, and yet that one-way trip already showcased how big of a disappointment he was. He was still trying to figure out how to apologize until he was deposited inside a chamber filled with expensive things. Mo Beijun let go of him, and Shang Qinghua found himself on a fluffy bed covered with furs. I must see Lord Luo. Luo, stay here. Shang Qinghua was about to get an aneurysm. The chambers he was in were littered with gold and crystalline walls. The furs were soft and warm against his skin. This was such an upgrade compared to his dwelling in Anding. The world outside was covered in snow, and the glass pane filtered out the sound, leaving him in complete silence. So much time had passed as he kept laying down there, trying to pinch his cheeks to ensure that he was not dreaming, because the events that had transpired were certainly very random to his tastes. Snapping out of his reverie, Shang Qinghua immediately took out a voice transmission talisman. He lit it up with his qi and kept burning one after the other. It took several tries until the person who should be on the receiving end responded. What is it? The voice of Shen Yuan carried over, and it was slightly hoarse. Binghe, stop. You have to go. Yuan is pushing me away again. I've been with you all night. Come on, get dressed. It was like a child's whine, and it was followed by Shen Yuan's fond laughter. Shang Qinghua held his breath and slowly asked, Is this a bad time to call? There was a hiss, and the talisman he was using burned to dust, no doubt being abruptly ended from the other end. Shang Qinghua prayed he didn't piss off Luo Binghe. While he was an absolute saint, the boy still held Shin Mo. Moments later, he felt his side getting warm, and he reluctantly took out the talisman. Sorry about that. It's okay. I understand, Qinghua said. Binghe, it's just Qinghua. You should go meet your people while I stay here and see what's wrong with him. How do you know something's wrong? You never call unless you need help. Shang Qinghua wanted to sigh and retort, but he had to watch his words since Luo Binghe protected Shen Yuan's honor like a white knight. Okay, he left. Go on airplane, bro. Shang Qinghua began recounting today's events. So we were slaying the water dragons by the coast. I know you wanted some of the dragon parts, which is why you probably sent demons to retrieve them, but one thing led to another, and now I'm a servant of Mobe June. What's funny? But haven't you always served him, though? He doesn't know it's me, Shang Qinghua said inside. As he rolled around in bed, he whispered, I'll tell him the truth, that I'm his spy. This is just making things more official. You think that's what this is for? What else is this for? I assumed you wanted to ally the northern region in King Qian, so I volunteered. I'm far more familiar with demons. Because you work for them and King Qian knows this, so they didn't protest, did they? ... Airplane bro. You thought you hid pretty well, didn't you? But my brother has long pointed out we had a spy, and I kept my mouth shut because it didn't matter to me. But we've always known you were selling King Qian out to whoever paid more. That's because I was hoping to save up enough to make a run for it when things go bad. Qinghua instantly felt guilty. He suddenly found himself hugging a pillow to himself, wishing to know if his days are numbered. Yes, I suppose you need to have as many options as you can have, but that's not a good way to live either. Don't you think the world we have is peaceful right now? If I have anything to say to it, I hope to keep it that way. Let's forget about that. I do think Mobe June will treat you well. Before Tianling Jun got away from a life of imprisonment and married Su Xiyan, for the most part, the demons still hated humans. And even after 20 years of peace, many people didn't like the truce and still wanted to wage war. Having his feet in both waters helped because it kept him above the happenings, and he could easily switch sides to support which one was more likely to win. But maybe all his worrying was for naught. He sighed again. I have to go, Qinghua. Binghe is nagging me to come join him. You'll make a good husband for Mobe June. You've always told me how he was your dream man, so I'm happy you finally got your wish. Shang Qinghua stopped breathing. Husband? 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 His mind was on replay, and it came back to Mobe June declaring the second reason for his visit. Need someone suitable. That doesn't tell anything! That was vague as fuck! And he literally volunteered himself. Oh, he must have sounded so desperate. Shang Qinghua was feeling faint. He crawled out of bed, and it was at that time that the servants came in. Lord Shang, we are your servants. 7 pretty women with white hair all bowed to him, and Shang Qinghua found more of them coming, this time with different sets of clothes, shoes, cloaks, and jewelry. These clothes are temporary, since our lord only gave an appropriate size. Later, the seamstress will come to take your measurements. The demons bowed one after the other and glanced at his attire. It would be inappropriate to remain in these robes. This servant suggests Lord Shang take a bath and wear what our lord has chosen for you to wear. Mobe June thought his servant was far more docile today than he usually was. Among the demon lords, very few knew of Shang Qinghua's true loyalties, but they have long figured out that this man was a valuable aid to the demon kings like himself. For a price, this man was willing to sell a great many truths, and this way, they've learned the going-ons in the human realm in preparation for the eventual war. Many demons weren't quite happy with the peace that Tianling Jun brought, since those who were still affected by the previous wars were still alive. Mobe Jun cared little about it, besides doing what was best for his people. However, now his loyalty was to the prince, Luo Binghe, and that has changed everything. Ling Guangjun was sitting beside him looking irritated. His uncle slammed his hand. You could have taken anyone, but why a human? The elders said anyone would do. I already made a choice. You need an heir. Uncle, let's not pretend you're not after the throne. I've done you a great service by choosing a man. Ling Guangjun muttered. But you can impregnate a man should you wish. Mo Beijun looked at his wolf in a bored fashion. Is that true? Without any inflection of his voice. The idea of having to sire children did not appeal to Mo Beijun in any way. His uncle hated him because he was the heir to the throne, and his mother once belonged to his uncle. Sometimes he wondered if the reason why his father held little regard for him was that he was his mother and uncle's hidden love child. But his uncle hated him, so he never felt like asking. As a young child, Mo Beijun once found himself at the mercy of humans, and it was lucky that during that time humans were less antagonistic towards demons, so no one tried to kill him despite being a demon child. He supposed the first time he met Qinghua was when they were both children. He was 7 and Qinghua was smaller than him. He'd been crying a little. He didn't know what to do, paralyzed by fear because he ran away from the dogs that chased him into an alleyway, and he was starving. His uncle thought that even if he didn't have to do the deed, the humans would do it for him, and he left Mo Beijun with the knowledge that he'll die there, and despite knowing he was stronger, he was still a child, and in that moment of weakness, he felt so scared. A prince of the demon realm, he'll fetch a fortune, and an even higher price if offered to their enemies. And then this small thing came to him with bright honey eyes and smiled. This young child was so small, thin, and from the puffy eyes, this child had been crying before seeing him. 2 crying children. I'll give you this. Mo Beijun was hungry, and there was a half-eaten mantou being offered by that small hand. ... He didn't like humans, and his parents taught him to fear them and hate them because they once used to kill their kind. But it looked like the other child was harmless. When he didn't take the mantou, the child took his hand and put it in there. I'm not hungry anymore, and you are, so just take it. The child squatted behind him in the nondescript alleyway and sighed. You don't look like you're from here. Mo Beijun summoned icicles at his fingertips because he wouldn't let this child go if he exposed what he was. He had to keep waiting. He had to find a way back home, and he didn't know who to trust. If only he knew how to use his powers. He couldn't wait to grow up. If he was stronger, he wouldn't feel so trapped. I'm not from here either. You see, from far, far away. I know I'm never coming home. But I know it doesn't matter. My parents are sending me away. Never mind. Why aren't you eating yet? Mo Beijun hungrily began eating, and this child, no older than 4, began chattering about his life. So, you see, I'm going to be sold to a sect. Do you hate them for selling you? Mo Beijun felt better after having eaten and hastily wiped his cheeks. What can I do? My family cares more about money. They sell me and they can live well, and I will learn how to cultivate. It's a good thing, but I'm scared. What's there to be afraid of? My father said getting stronger means being able to take what you want and protect what you have. You should be happy. Mo Beijun felt his throat protest because it was the most he had said in days. And then the younger boy's stomach rumbled. You're hungry. Cold, blue-gray eyes flashed with concern. I know, but there's more food at home. I ran away, but I'll go back just to say goodbye to my birth parents. Mo Beijun found the wording strange, and then all of a sudden, the child was crying. Silently. Then, cautiously, he carefully rubbed his hand clean on his winter cloak and found himself patting the young boy's head, waiting for a very long time until the boy stopped crying. He was tearing up too, because that's what happened when other children cried. And when the brown-haired boy heard his stomach rumble, he started laughing and then crying again. Jun didn't want him to attract attention, so he then pushed the boy into his arms and began patting his back so he could calm down. My uncle kidnapped me and left me here. I have to go home. Then go home, the brown-haired child said, wiping his tears. It's far. Do you know the way back? Jun could tell where the northern realm was, even if he didn't know the way. Then follow me. He was lost in the memories. He later learned that the very same person who saved his life and stole a horse from his own family was Shang Qinghua. And Jun hated how he was saved by a human twice, but also felt very fond of the memory. So he kept the meeting a secret and secretly questioned what he learned from his family. Humans weren't all that evil. He could make one exception. Eventually, his life was saved again by Shen Yuan, and it was what prompted him to ally himself with Luo Binghe, who beat him up for sending him to the abyss. The union of Tianlang Jun with Su Xiyan and Luo Binghe with Shen Yuan often made Jun wonder if he could do the same. Everyone in his family was urging him to get married or to follow the family tradition of stealing a bride. So that's what he thought he did, but somehow it didn't go as planned. Shang Qinghua swam in the sizable pond of warm water and contemplated the likelihood of his survival if he planned to escape. He had no intention to be one of the brides Jun kept, not that he had ever written that far to know if Jun had a harem too, but he knew how demon lords operated. He knew Jun had had his fair share of adventures, since it was a stallion novel after all. The ice-cold prince, who knew little kindness from the start, would have used all means to achieve his goals and become far more powerful. This would have eventually ended with him devouring his father and killing his uncle. And eventually, his mother would die of grief. Someone like that, he shook his head. It would not work. However, he also knew that after publicly acknowledging Jun's offer, he had already put the final nail in the coffin. He came willingly. He could not simply say he was no longer interested because he misunderstood. Instead of blindly agreeing, he should have asked. And there were many, many times he could have asked. But now it would be too awkward to simply say he was not interested. So, Shang Qinghua simply accepted his new role as the husband and pretended that he was simply a servant. As he thought about it, he began coming up with another point of view. The reason why he believed Jun needed a servant was because he'd always hinted at wanting someone far more competent, and has expressed an interest to have a human ally once or twice. And he deluded himself into the idea that Jun was simply giving in to the requests of the elders in his clan, thus it was a marriage of convenience. The two of them do not need to sleep together, and he would make it easier for his king if he declared that he had no intentions to consummate the marriage. He wrote Jun himself. He knew that Jun was not interested in romantic activities. When the seamstress came, Shang Qinghua was already in a better mood. In comparison to other marriages, for this one, Shang Qinghua did not wear red, but white. He was already pale from fright, and he looked like a ghost next to the black-robed Jun. Funnily enough, some of the peak lords in King Qian were in attendance, and Shen Yuan was fanning himself at his husband's side. He bowed to Jun, and Jun did the same to him, and he was carried to their wedding bed. The entire day, from the ceremony to this eventual consummation, went too fast for Shang Qinghua's liking. As his white veil was taken off his face, he was lowered to the bed, and he whispered, My king does not need to pretend. He does not need to lower himself to Qinghua. Shang Qinghua looked up earnestly and scooted far away to the edge of the bed and carefully removed the frivolous things from his hair. Mo Beijun chased after him. You, what are you doing? My king, I intend to serve you with all my heart. However, my king, you do not have to pretend that you want to do this with me. I can pretend to love you and pretend that we've done it so that the others don't talk. You don't have to. What if I want to? Shang Qinghua put his hand over his mouth. Did you lie to me? No, my king. Then be good and lie down. Yes, my king. Mo Beijun hovered over him. You should know that what I intend to do with you. I will fuck you. Shang Qinghua began praying to the heavens. Mo Beijun was the man of his dreams, but this was coming along too fast for him. He did not have the heart to protest, and Mo Beijun gently kissed his fingers. But since Qinghua is afraid, then this one will simply sleep with you. Isn't that the same thing? To be honest, Shang Qinghua could no longer feel his cheeks. He was given a front row view of Mo Beijun slowly undressing before him. Slowly undressing until there was nothing left. My king, you... Shh. The lights in their chamber went off, and Shang Qinghua was pulled against the very naked man's body. He could feel the very thick and hard length pressed behind him. Sleep. How the fuck was he supposed to sleep? Everywhere Shang Qinghua went, there was gossip. And it did not help that he felt sore from not being able to move for a whole night for fear of waking up the demon who slept beside him. As he complained of his sore back, the elder demons would give a knowing look and the women would chuckle. Mo Beijun looked content in that small quirk of his lips that was a barely there smile when Shang Qinghua was barely awake and found cold lips pressing against the corner of his mouth. And he could not think at all as he began his rounds in the Northern Realm Palace. Whenever he did not know what to do, Shang Qinghua often liked to be doing something else, something that would keep him busy. So when a troublemaker came and asked for him to start managing the supposed harem, he turned into his Anding Peak Lord mode, and in a matter of a few days, the court was coming to him for more and more work because they were surprised at his level of competence. Mo Beijun was nowhere to be found, and Shang Qinghua hoped that it was not because of his lackluster performance in bed. Pretty soon, in just about a week, Shang Qinghua had become an advisor to the Northern Realm, besides being its future queen, so to speak. He investigated the treasury, found discrepancies, and instantly pointed out a few who were pocketing large sums of money here and there, and he left a note for his king to deal with it. The next day, he saw their bodies hanging by the walls of the palace and almost fainted. Out of nowhere, Mo Beijun appeared beside him. Was that not what Qinghua wanted? Shang Qinghua gasped and clutched his heart. My king has read this servant's mind! Shang Qinghua lowered his head, and Mo Beijun came forward towards him and tilted his chin upward. Are you not my queen? My king? Qinghua, we are married. There is no need to call yourself a servant. I am your husband. You can be honest with me. Is this unpleasant for you? But before Shang Qinghua could say anything, the fear overcame him, and he babbled something he couldn't recall and started running away. Shang Qinghua paused and looked around the hub of work he surrounded himself. He now had a very special study where the work he had for King Qian in the Northern Realm kept on piling up. It was filled with scrolls, books, and miniature construction projects that kept him from thinking about his current predicament. However, Mo Beijun liked to visit him and was now sitting beside him with his pet wolf asleep on his lap. It already had slobber all over the floor and his king's robes. Such a spoiled wolf, he was almost jealous. The soft strokes of his brush ended, and there was a prolonged silence. It felt stifling to be observed and to want to act like the perfect wife/servant. Sheng Qinghua gathered his courage and finally asked, "Why? My king, what do you want with me? This this one this one isn't a woman. This one isn't even a pure-blooded demon. I'm not even a good cultivator. Why me?" "Why not you, Qinghua?" Sheng Qinghua pursed his lips. "This one does not want to be part of a harem. I do not wish to be involved with someone who will only have others." "That is not what you are for." "Then what am I here for?" Mo Beijun growled, and the window shattered at the force of his qi, instantly plunging Sheng Qinghua's room into a snow-covered ground. "Do you not understand what you are to me? If my king doesn't speak clearly, you are my wife." "Yes." Mo Beijun huffed and glared at him. Then, out of habit, Sheng Qinghua closed his eyes and expected a blow, but instead there was a hand on his cheek. When he opened his eyes, Mo Beijun already stood up and looked disappointed. "That hurt." "My king, I'm sorry. It was this one's fault. Please forgive me." He kowtowed and remained in that position until Mo Beijun sighed. Sheng Qinghua winced when his wrist was pulled up, and he whimpered when the vice-like grip tightened. "Qinghua." The voice was so soft against his ear. Go back to your home." Sheng Qinghua was sent packing, and he had a very troubled heart. The servant demons followed him back to Anding Peak, where he locked himself up and began to cry. In all honesty, it was a rather short-lived marriage. No doubt Mo Beijun would quickly find himself another. There were prettier people out there. Shen Yuan often joked about how he had such a mousy appearance, and when he was troubled, he'd start sweating cold and look like a drowned rat. It must look hideous now that he was crying. His king held his waist too tight, and he felt it was almost broken. His wrist had a bruise, and he probably needed Mu Qingfan's help to heal it, but he was too ashamed to go there. He was too ashamed to show his face to anyone. What Shen Yuan could do, he simply couldn't. There was not enough of a precedent for male wives, and already he was hearing their protests since there was no fruition of their lovemaking. They all want an heir, and he could not provide that. They wanted a pure-blood demon, and he wasn't. They wanted someone elegant and beautiful, peerless, and he looked ordinary. He was only good at serving others. This wife business was beyond him. In the northern realm, the servants had to prepare so much to ensure he could live there comfortably. Most of the demons were already acclimated to the cold, but he was not. So it was an expense to keep him there. It was so much nicer to be back in the warmth of Anding, but he felt frozen inside. He called for Shen Yuan many times, and eventually the man came to visit and instantly came to hug him. It had been 2 days since he was sent packing, but he still felt so fresh inside his mind. "You look like shit." "I do, yeah." The two of them got drunk, and Sheng Qinghua started sobbing. "I don't know what I got myself into." "You have a habit of judging people before they even act. I thought you liked him. I thought..." Shen Yuan had his hair in a messy bun and had gotten down to his inner robes like Sheng Qinghua. Sheng Qinghua had his hair down and was swirling the wine on his plate. His eyes had dark rings underneath, and his hair had knots here and there from refusing to comb it or even take a shower, just sulking. Before Shen Yuan came, he had already convinced himself to start packing to live as a hermit with the money he had made. It was enough to last him for several hundred years of comfortable living. "I'm sorry, Qinghua. This is my fault." Shen Qinghua shook his head. "It wasn't Shen Yuan's fault. I do like him, and I think I'm falling in love with him. But I keep asking, what if it's all just a game to him, though? What if I'm right, and See, he already kicked me out. There are questions that you need to ask your husband. Not me. I don't know him well enough. See, if you're already this miserable and you've only been married for a month, then maybe you should divorce him. Shen Yuan pulled him closer and began fixing his hair for him with a comb that appeared out of nowhere. Shang Qinghua thought about having to formally disavow the marriage and started sobbing. But I don't want that either. Shen Yuan sighed. Shen Yuan took the troubled man's hand and led him to the window. Look. Where? Shen Yuan plopped both of his hands and directed Shang Qinghua's gaze over towards the stars. ... And a layer of frost collected out the window, leading to a staircase up the sky. Icicle flowers and falling snow blanketed the night sky. What is this? Shang Qinghua rubbed his eyes and asked himself if he was not seeing things. Shen Yuan coughed and said, Since it's partially my fault that you got into this mess, Binghe forcefully educated Mobaijun for your benefit. Not that Binghe is any better, but still it is the thought that counts. Here's a message. Shen Yuan lay back on the floor and grabbed a wide wine cup and began drinking as Shang Qinghua quickly tore open a black envelope. He told me if you still wish to be with him to give you this. You may not remember the boy whose life you saved. I owe my life to you, but what I did is not a repayment. I've been watching you from the moment I found you serving me as my spy. Do you think I would not recognize your voice? You may have hidden your face, your qi, your scent, and you even changed your manner of speaking. But you cannot change everything. Qinghua, you've been a loyal servant, but I would not have chosen you as my husband had you not been worthy of it. This Lord promises that there will be no one else. I am upset that you think I will be unfaithful. I will take no one else. There will only be you. And to prove my dedication, I wish to court you. Let me love you. Shang Qinghua was quiet for a while and laughed and smiled and felt strange. He wrote this? Who else? Shen Yuan asked rhetorically. What about if I don't like him at all? Oh, you know how demons are. They won't take no for an answer. But I have the other message if you want to see. And Shang Qinghua, out of curiosity, opened it. Even if you do not love me, I intend for us to stay together. I will not allow anyone else to have you. I will make it impossible for you to leave me. Shang Qinghua, you are mine. Shang Qinghua instantly felt his legs wobble. It looked like a death threat. Go. Shang Qinghua nervously sat on the ice-covered chair after having climbed the strangely artful stairway to the sky and waited for Mobaijun to appear. And he did. It was awkward because neither of them wished to speak. And then Shang Qinghua, cheeks red, asked, Why did you send me away? I was angry, and I needed to compose my thoughts. I don't know why you're so afraid of me, Qinghua. I've done nothing to deserve this fear. My king, it's the servant's fault. When I was your servant, you would normally hit me, and it hurt a lot. You don't like that? Of course not. I'm weak. My body isn't as strong as yours, so when you hit me before, it would take weeks to heal. Mobaijun considered him. What about when I wanted to sleep with you? If you like me, then shouldn't you like that too? But we've known each other for so long, but not that long. I thought you only married me out of convenience. I know the elders want you to have children, and I'm far from the best candidate. I thought it was a temporary thing, and if I'm wrong, you are. This one apologizes. Mobaijun stood up and approached Shang Qinghua carefully. I do not know how to care for a human. I only know how to deal with demons. For my kind, violence is a form of courtship. So be honest with me, Qinghua. I wish to learn. How do I treat you well?" Even after having said this, Jun still didn't show as much emotion as he did, but Shang Qinghua knew his king was trying his best to be honest with him. And Shang Qinghua squeaked when the larger man hugged him. "We can take it slow. One day, I hope you stop fearing me." "I don't fear you. I do like you, my king." "Will you grant me a kiss?" "Now?" "Yes." Shen Yuan sighed and massaged his head. Demon lords are so troublesome. Luo Binghe appeared in the shadows and embraced Shen Yuan. "Do you want to be courted the same way?" "No need. It's too showy." "Is it?" Luo Binghe's eyes were lit up in red as they watched a glimmering platform fill the sky and Jun sweeping Shang Qinghua for a kiss and immediately smothering the grounds with snow so no one else could witness their moment. Shen Yuan chuckled. He was happy his friend had finally found someone, even if it was the supposedly cruel king of the north. He once gifted Jun a pet, and it grew into a humongous loyal lapdog that scared the shit out of most people. But he could tell from that alone that Jun had enough in him to care for small animals. Shang Qinghua was skittish by nature and held many secrets. It was only recently that they figured out that they were both transmigrators, and it made him initially want to murder Airplane, but very quickly they bonded together. It was good to see him stop moping. He wished his best friend the best. Meanwhile, Ling Guangjun scoffed at his nephew's antics, and he bowed toward Shen Qingchu. "We thank you for letting us intrude in Anding." "Do not thank me. Thank our sect leader." "No need to be polite, Lord Shen." Shen Qingchu covered his mouth with his fan and turned around. "Can Lord Shen show me around? It's not every day that this lord is allowed into a human sect." Shen Qingchu looked back. "Then you must wear this." Ling Guangjun was surprised to see a red rope tossed his way. "Interesting." He held out his hands and a disciple began tying his wrists together. Shen Qingchu smirked and led him away on a leash. And that is the end of that. The author's notes at the end say, "I don't write Mo Shang all that often, so I hope I did them justice here." Little smiley cat face. Happy to know what you think. Well, I think you did an absolutely lovely job because I enjoyed it. And I think that everyone listening did too. So thank you again for letting me record this. I had a great time. I hope the break in the middle wasn't too long. But thank you again, Emriel. I apologize if I am saying your name wrong, but I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed too. I hope I did a good enough job recording your stuff, and that you like it. But anyway, thank you everyone for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your holiday season. There will be more to come, but yeah, enjoy. Bye-bye.